Columbia we weren't going to have neighborhoods divided by race or by religion. This is going to be a place where everybody could live.
And it's this great adventure of being part of building a new city. When we got here, there were 800 people, period. We didn't know how the city was going to turn out, but we were invited by the Rouse Company to participate in the development of the city. So we did, and it's been one of the great adventures of our lives. Very forward-thinking people. It was also a time, I'm sure you've heard about the hippies, where it was a revolutionary time for the United States. So not only were we creating something from nothing, other people around the United States were doing the same thing in different areas. Everything was in a state of flux.
The 60s was a time of creativity and also protest and people wanting to try new things, and that's what Columbia was about. The entire town consisted of just a few neighborhoods that were only partially built in the first year or two, and really you'd have to understand the roads to understand how small it was. Route 29 was one lane each direction with stoplights on the corners and very few cars. You rarely saw a car. And the nearest restaurants and stores, we would go either to Liberty Road in Baltimore County. Kids on the bicycles would basically run the town. We were all over the place all day, playing in houses that were half built and pretending to ride on tractors after hours and turning the lights on and off. And we knew every street and every town, every street name in the town, and we could be anywhere in the town, and we were just 8 or 9 years old, and they didn't know where we were. So, and there were no cell phones. So that was what it was like to be here then.
We had this service, this big service, and it was controversial because they had one of the renditions of Paul Nidra was done by an audio tape by something called the Electric Burns. So it was, after that there was a discussion, that we had a meeting figuring out what the sort of a synopsis of the thing and everybody's feelings about it. And as a result of that, the community sort of decided it was time to start a congregation. So we were, there was Reform, Conservative, and those of us who wanted a more meaningful kind of worship experience, we got together and formed the Columbia Jewish Congregation.
So we started to meet and we said, well, we're going to create a synagogue, and the great part of this is we don't have to do it any particular way except to include the great values of the Jewish people, the Torah, and the learning and the lessons. And we all wanted our children to have a Jewish experience, and we talked about what a school might be like.
At the beginning we had services Friday night, a short service, led, and then afterwards we had this, like what they call it, let people tell us what they want in the cover of the Jewish community. And every time somebody came, they want to reinvent the wheel. There were so many wheels already, so we stopped it. And then after a while, we had a congregation, we had services, but no rabbi. There was no rabbi in town. I was the head Jew in the county.
And we decided to not take any traditional prayer books. We decided to take a loose leaf notebook and just add prayers and readings as we went along. And we did that for high holiday services and for Friday night and Saturday morning services.
So we began to have Friday night services. And so how are we going to have a Friday night service? We don't have any prayer books. So the group got together and we created our first prayer book. And the prayer book was done by many of us on the committee. And we had traditional prayers in here, and then we brought in other readings that we thought were relevant to our times, to our families, to people as individuals.
I used to go to Friday night services all the time, me and my husband. and it was a place where you could gather and discuss things, and it wasn't a place where you opened a prayer book and did the service necessarily. You could talk about things and what was happening.
There was agreement that all our prayer books were going to be in English and Hebrew. That many people didn't speak Hebrew or didn't want to speak Hebrew, and then there are many people who did.
We had our own prayer book. You could type on hand, not hand. It was, yeah, it was typed up and then copied.